Hiya. How's everyone this morning? It's about 8:45 in the morning for me here in Oregon. An absolutely beautiful morning. I haven't seen a chemtrail yet. The skies are a beautiful, beautiful blue this morning. I'm grateful. I wanted to talk about growing where you're planted. Has anyone ever said that to you? If you're not feeling good about where you live, and grow where you're planted. I've had it said to me, and I would feel guilty that I wasn't growing where I was planted, or I wasn't feeling it, right? This is a Japanese snowbell tree that has already bloomed, and look what it leaves behind. Little jewels dangling from the branches. Beautiful. I live in my grandparents' house that they bought in the 60s. Japanese garden. It used to be very, very manicured. Now it's very overgrown because it's extremely expensive, and truly, we are not able to do the work to keep it up. Extremely expensive to have a contract with the gardener who comes to take care of a Japanese garden. And there we go. There's my coffee this morning. A little shout out to Lidka, Hiya, and my Flat Earth British fam. Okay. Grow where you're planted. I'm not feeling the growing here. Even though this is beautiful, look at where I live, my goodness. And there are people living in their cars right now, so I'm very grateful I can come out day or night, and the beauty here is incredible. Okay, incredible. Grow where you're planted. I used to have a tiny little card and gift shop in the town where I raised my child for many years. It was called the Highland Heart. Pardon me. I am mostly of Scottish descent, and I have a very strong pull to Scotland. And so I had a lot of Celtic themed things in my shop, and cards, imagery, fairy lights everywhere. My shop became a gathering place for the women of that town. There weren't very many places in town. There's one main street. And at the time, a lot of the storefronts just boarded up. And suddenly, a few stores started opening. We started opening some little shops. There was a bagel shop. The restaurants and bars were always there, a few restaurants and bars, but there weren't many other shops open on the street. And so my shop became a gathering place for women. I set up a little wicker table and chairs in one of the big windows of my store, and women would come. They'd buy their bagel and coffee from across the street. They'd come and sit with me, and we would talk. I'd pull up my chair that I used behind my counter if someone else came in. It was wonderful. And I had a friend who lived in town, an artist, an extraordinary woman. Extraordinary woman. She had alopecia. She did not have one hair on her body, not an eyelash, not an eyebrow. She had worn a wig for years. I never saw her in the wig because at one point she said to her husband, who loved her dearly, despite it, right? There are real men out there. She said, honey, I just can't wear this wig anymore. It's not me. I can't stand how it feels. I hope you don't mind if I go around in public with no hair. Of course, he didn't mind. He was a little bit like, okay, yeah. I mean, it was a change for him too, but he didn't mind, okay? She often wore a hat because, of course, we lose so much body heat from the top of our heads. So even when we would be perfectly comfortable, it'd be a little cool for her. She wore flowy, colorful clothes of the rainbow. She was an artist extraordinaire. I think I already said that. And she wore great big earrings, and she looked absolutely like a goddess, this woman. Very tall. She was taller than me. And I'm over 5'10", okay? She was taller than me. She was a mother. She had several children. Just a fabulous woman. And one day, I wasn't happy, but it wasn't the town itself, but I wasn't happy there. And I said, I guess I need to grow where I'm planted. And she was very stern with me in her reply. And she said, Jenny, are you kidding me? Are you telling me, grow where you're planted, are you telling me that if you have some pots with plants in them and they're all dying, are they growing where they were planted? No. Same with you. It's the same with you. And I've never liked that phrase since. How do you feel about that phrase, grow where you're planted? I mean, I know we need to accept our circumstances sometimes. We're not always able to change things right away. We need to accept where we are. Especially now, we're being forced to accept where we are. We can't bounce just any old day, can we? Right now. Yeah, beautiful tree and the sun coming through, shining on it. It's just, in many ways, where I'm planted, I'm very fortunate, my goodness. But we used to grow food on this deck. Wonderful deck. It's incredible, isn't it? We used to grow food in pots. There isn't really land. It's rocky, as you can see, and extremely shady, and it's not, we really don't have the ground outside to plant anything. So we would grow food in pots, and one of the neighbors started to feed the squirrels, many squirrel feeders. And the squirrels would come, dig up every one of our plants out of their pots to plant their gourmet peanuts in the shell for the winter. We had to stop growing. Our food and flowers couldn't grow where they were planted. How do you feel about that? If someone says grow where you're planted, what do you think of that? Well, I love you all. Excuse me. God's grace to you today. God's grace. There's beauty wherever you're planted. So we need to seek it out, don't we? Every day. Sometimes we have to deliberately seek it out now. We have to deliberately seek it out. So much beauty to you all.